Hey guys, it's Aspa here again, and this cool thing that you're seeing now on your screen is an add-on called Narcissus. This is literally all it does. It gives you this kind of like AFK screen with your stats and gear and stuff, but it looks cool. So yeah, if you like it, I'll put the link in the description so you can get it. So, today we're actually gonna continue with the healing UI stuff. More importantly, what you need to track and what you don't need to track. These are very important things to note when you're building an UI and understanding what you need to see and what you don't need to see. So to save everyone's time, let's jump in. I can't speak, but that doesn't matter. We'll jump right into the business. So first things first, the most important add-on, as said in the previous video, for raiding, Mythic Plus and so on, is WeakAuras2. WeakAuras2 allows you to track all the necessary things that you need to see, and it allows you to hide your action bars. Now, the first thing that a lot of people might have, or the first thought might be, oh, but I need my action bars. The answer is no, you don't. It might sound a bit blunt, but the reality is that what you're looking from your action bars is like spell cooldowns and these kind of things. And it's very inefficient to be looking at your cooldowns from like the bottom of your screen or on the sides or whatnot. The amount of keybinds you have is, well, depending on your class, but for example, all my keybinds and mouse over macros together is something like, I don't know, 45 buttons. So you should know all of those things by heart. Like, you should know where your flash heal, your holy words, all of this stuff you should know by heart. So you don't actually need your action bars for anything, because you can display the stuff that you need to see in a more efficient way. For example, I am using a WeakAuras made priest WeakAuras at the moment, which I've then modified to my own preferences. So for example, I've added some voice alerts. So when Prayer of Mending and Circle of Healing come off cooldown, you can hear a sound attached to them, which is happening now. So whenever I hear the sonar ping, I know Prayer of Mending comes off cooldown. When I hear the ka-ching, that's Circle of Healing. Now, what am I tracking? I have Mending, Circle of Healing, my Holy Words, Holy Fire, Dispels, my Covenant abilities, my big major cooldowns. If I use Fade, you can see it here. If I use Mass Dispel, you see the cooldown. Same goes for Desperate Prayer. I'm tracking all the stuff that affects my decision making. And this applies to every single thing in your UI. You need to see stuff that affect your decision making, and everything that does not affect your decision making, you should hide it. So for example, there's no need to see like heal or flash heal or renew or what button they're in, because you need to know what buttons you're using, right? At first it might sound stupid or weird, but you'll just hide your action bars and you'll get used to it in no time. What kind of WeakAuras string you're using to track your spells, that's completely up to you. There's like, I don't want to say hundreds, but tens of different kinds of Holy Priest packages, for example, that you can choose from. Same goes from pretty much every single class and spec combination. There's a bunch of like really good like done from like that have everything, but I always modify stuff to my own preference. So if you like this version of the WeakAuras thing, I'll actually put the link in the description to my edit of it. So I only have one string instead of multiple ones, which WeakAuras usually has like 3 for each class, where you have the core, the utilities, and then the dynamic something, right? Anyway, one of the key things on hiding action bars is to maximize visibility, because as healers, like raid frames and party frames, they take a lot of space. Like, here's my 5-man setup. This is my 5-man frames. And when it's raid, it basically just takes this whole space. So if you have big action bars, like if these were even default ones, the amount of space they're taking from the screen is very, very much. So by using a small WeakAuras string, you can pretty much hide all your action bars. And then like what I have here is a small utility bar with my drums, potions, healing potions, mana potions, invis potions, some foods, flasks, etc, etc. These are stuff that I don't want to have key binded, but they're easier for me to click here. So it's basically for Mythic Plus purposes again. WeakAuras, you can have... I'm in combat with the Iron Tester, I can't open WeakAuras now. Let's get away. So, yeah, this looks a bit hectic at first, but the amount of stuff that you can have on your screen, right? Like, these are all different raid on dungeon stuff. Yeah, innervate timers, all that good shit. You get it from WeakAuras, which allows you to hide your action bars one more time. So, this same thing applies to DBM or Big Wicks, so basically your boss timers. You can hide everything that you don't need to see. So, let's say on Sludge Fist, hypothetically, Hateful Gaze is something that you don't need to see. You can just click it off. If there's a spell or an ability or a mechanic that does not affect your decision-making process, you don't need to see it. Everything, like all the information that is irrelevant for you, you don't want to see. You only want to see the information that will have an effect on what you're going to do next. I can't stress this enough, because all the amount of unnecessary information usually are on screens. It just distracts you, and it distracts you to the wrong direction, basically. So hide. Whenever there's something you don't want to see or you don't need to see, just hide it. Just click them off. And this same thing goes for both the Big Wicks, DBM. Which one you use is absolutely just up to preference. Then let's talk a bit about your party and party raid, whatever, what you want to track from your co-players. This more applies to 5-man content in my opinion, because you can't have like these kind of things that I have now, for example, in raid setting. It's just too much information for raid. But for 5-man content, knowing what defensive, offensives and other cooldowns your party has available is very, very useful. For example, in this screenshot, this is a plus 18 necrotic wake. So these prides are starting to hurt like a motherfucker. So what I have here is an add-on called OmniCD. The link is again in the description. It allows me to track all the cooldowns that I want to see from each party member. So I see the infernals, I see the stuns, I see the interrupts, I see the personal CDs, I see the self-heals. I see all the tank cooldowns, I see the externals. I see everything that might have an effect on how we play the game. So for example, for Pride, I want to make sure that one of my DPS players uses a cooldown, because if they don't, the Pride stays alive for too long, and I'm gonna run out of mana and healing. So these are things that are important and actually affect your play. Something like a healing meter or a DPS meter don't affect your decision making, so you put them far away from all the other information, right? And then when we get to the, I don't know, maybe the last part of what to track and what not to track, we're just gonna start talking about major raid cooldowns. So when you're raiding, you want to know what cooldowns your group has available. So Exorcist Raid Tools is the name of the add-on that I'm using. There are other add-ons that you can use, but Exorcist Raid Tools gives you so much more than just the raid cooldown settings, so I highly recommend getting this. Another cool thing is the note. You can have like a note that's a click-through for each boss. Like for example, this is for Here's Sludge Fist. So we have the dynamic timers and all the healing cooldowns set up for everything, right? So this is stuff that you want to track. You want to see your cooldown rotation on each boss. But the raid cooldowns part is, so first of all, the placement and what you need to see here and what you don't need to see here is really important. As a healer, especially if you're not in a group that's super organized, your healing cooldowns, yeah, like you might not have a proper healing cooldown rotation. So you want to be tracking all the major raid cooldowns. I don't know why this test mode shows some random single target spells, but in here I actually have like Divine Hymns, Salvations, Darkness, Tranquility, Revival, you know, Healing Tide Totem, Power Word Barrier, all the other major raid healing cooldowns. The reason for that is often, especially in a pug or, you know, in a not as experienced raiding group, you often see that when there's the first big mechanic, every single healer pops their cooldowns. So let's say you have 5 healers and the first mechanic comes in and all 5 of you pop their cooldowns, and then you have nothing left and you're practically fucked. So when you're tracking the healing cooldowns of other healers, it allows you to, first of all, see when someone else is using their cooldown, so you can kind of play around it. And then it allows you to wait a little bit, like hold on to your cooldown. When the first major damage comes in, don't be the first one to press the Divine Hymn or Tranquility or whatever class you're playing. Wait a little bit, see if anyone else is reacting, and allow them to react. Because most of the time, the first 2-3 mechanics are the ones where everybody burns everything they have, and then they're fucked. So if you're following and seeing what's happening in your raid in terms of cooldown usage, you can then adjust your playstyle and kind of be the hero when everybody else has wasted their cooldowns on double stacking. You can make as many columns as you want. Each of these columns can be, you can have like, so all your resurrections are in column 7, and then you have column 7 somewhere, and that shows all that. So everything in here can be modified and made to your preference. On top of like the major healing cooldowns, I'm also tracking something like Innervates and like Sacks from Paladin or Iron Barks from Druid, which allows me to know like if there's like external cooldowns that we can use. Mostly this is important for tanks, because tanks are the ones you asking for externals. But yeah, you could say that there might be a time when you could get like an Iron Bark from your druid, but not often. But yeah, you want to know if they're up or not. Same goes for resurrection. So you want to know if you have sorry, my brain just froze for a moment. You want to know if you have battle reses or not. But extra trade tools is the best tool in my opinion for this. The amount of templates you have for a different kind of like how you display the information is completely up to you. But so these are kind of the main points on what to track and what to not to track. The most important part, in my opinion, is to kind of understanding what not to track. You don't need to, like, the idea of having to see your action bars, for example, it might seem weird in the beginning, but it'll get quite easy quite quickly, and you'll forget that you ever even saw your action bars. To end this video, I actually have a few more UIs left from my previous video that I'm going to preview now. We got them from our great Warcraft Priest community. So if you're a priest looking for help, I highly recommend the Warcraft Priest Discord. There's a lot of helpful people out there answering questions on a daily basis. There's a great amount of guides on the channel too, so the link is again in the description. And without further ado, let's get to the UIs that we're gonna see today. So the first one is an LVUI based, I'd say this is Voodoo. The first thing that comes to mind is this part here. I know this is a pretty default setting from Voodoo. It shows your buffs and how much there's left of it. when the buffs start to pile up, it grows really high. So what I would recommend here is you do the similar thing. You just have the icons. You can just do the icons here too. You can actually make these maybe a tiny bit smaller too. Your raid frames are over here. Your flash concentration is over here, but your spells are visible on the bottom of the screen. So this goes pretty well of what we spoke of today. You can hide these. You can put them in the side somewhere. Just hide them. Make them, visible on hover or mouse over, and then you get like a small Holy Priest WeakAuras string here or here that allows you to see or place the stuff that you have, the information in the same area. So what we can't see here is the placement of the raid timers or where the timers come, but I'd say they should be somewhere around here. So the information is around the same area. What we don't have is like raid cooldowns anywhere, so you're not tracking major raid CDs. So I recommend getting something like you could have it here on the left side, or you can have it here on the top, or even here, But yeah, so I'd say start tracking your raid CDs and hide your action bars. Get a WeakAuras string that allows you to track the stuff that you want to see, right? But generally speaking, a really clean UI. Number 2 is from Biva. This is, well, again, LVI based. I know you have Exorcist raid tools, you have the raid tools here, you have the cooldowns, details, a lot of action bars. So this, it's a cool WeakAuras string, but it's very big. Same goes to the target and player frame. I'd say the target frame is gonna be here, which means that the visibility around your character is quite small. So this could be, toned down. I think it's scale 1 now, so 0.7 or something like that. And then you can move your, maybe play a target frame a little bit towards left and to the bottom to allow yourself to see a bit more around your character. My biggest recommendation is to move these cooldowns to here or here. You want to have them closer to your frames because now you're going up, down, up, down, up, down again, right? Damage healing meters, maybe top left, somewhere where you don't see them. Like, this is a very random place for it. Overall, it's a clean UI, but again, we could optimize this space a little bit better. And the last one for today, it's actually a pretty clean UI, generally speaking. What's kind of random here is we have the action bars here in the top left corner. They are absolutely huge, but they're not taking, space that could be used for something else. It just hide them completely. It's a pretty random place to have them, but that's fine. They are not taking unnecessary space, but you could like have them fade out completely. I would move these closer to the frames, maybe pull them down a little bit. And this, I'd say this is a WeakAuras string, a little bit modified one. You could make it a little bit smaller, like take 30% off, similar to Biva's one. So I think if this is scale 1 now, you can scale it to 0.7, 0.65, and it would give you a bit more space. But generally speaking, very good UI. I like the way you've displayed the information around here. This is perfectly fine. Target player frames, very almost default setting for LVUI. Boss frames, timers are here around it. So yeah, I like it. You can, hiding these completely would probably make more sense, and then moving these a bit closer. But generally speaking, this is a really good healing UI. And with that said, thank you for watching. I hope you get something out of this video. And yeah, we're gonna make one more, I think, or maybe a few more on specific areas like today. So hope you like it, and see you in the next video. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Ciao, ciao.